Hello, everyone!
Yay!
We are live. Sorry, my lighting's just like so bad. I feel like I'm like a ghost here. Everyone else is bright. But thank you so much for joining us today. Please let us know in the comments if you're here and if you're watching the replay, because I know a couple people said that they'd have to watch the replay. Let us know in the comments. We're going to be talking about our NaNoWriMo experience. I've got lovely friends here who have all been here before, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. I linked their YouTube and or Instagram down below. So yeah, Heather, do you want to start things off?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Heather Venkat, and you can find me on Twitter at WriteVenkat. I write middle grade and YA fantasy and contemporary, and I'm an aspiring author.
Yay!
Traditional publication.
I guess Savannah, you're next.
Hi, everybody. I'm Savannah J. Goins. I'm author of The Gwythinian. I always point to the wrong side.
I gotta change the thing so you can see it. Oh, there we go. Yeah. And Vary's in the background.
Yes, and that's my stuffed animal of one of my characters. And I've been doing Nano. This is my 5th year doing Nano, and it is my favorite time of year.
Yay.
Did I come back just in time to introduce myself?
Yes, you did.
I think I was the problem with some echoing, so I stopped, came back. But hi, everybody. I'm writer Alicia Grumley on Insta. Alicia Grumley in real life. You got me. And I am so happy to be here doing our Nano recap with Holly and Heather and Savannah. And yeah, they follow me on Instagram. That's a good place. Good place to find me.
Yeah. Yes. So I invite. Sorry, my cat's like hacking. I might need to get my like headphones. Hold on, I'll mute myself really quick.
It's just real life. This is just real life. It's fine.
It is real life.
While we wait for Holly to come back, do you guys want to say a little bit about your Nano projects that you did this year?
Great point. Yeah. So, Savannah, do you want to start then?
Sure. So I got an idea earlier this summer for a 5-book series, and I didn't mean for it to be that long, but I am an outliner, and I outlined it by accident, and it's super long. And so I this year nanoed the first book. So I had started the first book, so I nanoed the rest of that book, all of book 2 and a little bit of book 3, because I really wanted to challenge myself to do double nano this year. So I wrote a little over 100,000 words, and it spanned over the course of 3 books. And this is the Casters of Renford series, and the first book is The Whisper of a Weapon.
Yay!
Woo! I don't know if I can follow that.
If you don't want to, Heather, I'll go. It's all good.
Sure.
So I rebel every year. I've been nanoing. This was my 4th nano, but it was the way it started was like in my 3rd year. So like, because I started right off the bat with 1, and then, by the time December 2018 hit, I had 2 nanos under my belt, even though it had been just over a year. So this was my 4th nano, and I did win, and I rebelled. So I was working on several different projects, and I kind of abandoned all of them in the middle of it. I was like, no, don't want to write any of these anymore. I am writing something. So my word of the year is dandelion. And I'm a poet. That's one of the other things that I do is I'm a poet, and I have a dandelion poetry collection that I'm working on. And Savannah and Holly are both to blame for this, because there were a couple of poems in there where they're like, oh, I want a whole story with this. I want a whole world. So I was working on Wish Village, and talking about like kind of the premise of that is like, what happens when a wish goes rogue? Like what happens to make a wish go rogue, and like what happens to the village? And it kind of is like a Freaky Friday mashup where like the 2 main characters have to flip their roles, but they know they're doing it, and kind of everybody else knows they're doing it. So that's a fair comp for it at this point. And then I had a couple other projects that I was working on. One yeah, okay, I'll just talk about one of the other ones. I am part of a group online, and I heard somebody say something at some point, or maybe I read it, that her grandmother's funeral had just happened, and all these women kept coming up to her and saying, like, your grandma changed my life, and I wouldn't be the woman I am without your grandmother, and all this stuff. Well, it turns out, like, her grandmother had been part of this knitting club that was not a knitting club. It was like a secret, like, funds gathering and like voice making club for women in the 60s with JFK, because this was the time where women's husband told them who they voted for, how they voted, and there was no like wiggle room on that. And so like I kind of have this idea of like not your grandmother's knitting club, and like so like that was kind of one of the things I was working through. And like they would just meet like every week, and they would do, according to this post, that they would do these, you know, like fundraising, and they would like learn about the candidates. And so it was just really fascinating to me, especially being in like the centennial of women having the right to vote. So I thought that was a fun one. So I had fun, and I did double nano for the first time ever. And that is partially Savannah's fault too, because she was like, I'm gonna double nano with one of our other friends. And I was like, okay, great. And then I was like, fine, I'm going to try too. And I actually, of our friend group, came in with my double nano first of all of us.
That is incredible.
I was excited about that.
Healthy competition and motivation.
It's a good way to motivate me always.
Yeah, that's incredible. And yes, I can't wait to read everything. So I am one of the lucky beta readers for the Dandelion collection. So I can't wait to dive in.
That sounds fun.
Really quick before we move on to Heather's project, James is here. I saw Savannah was saying, and Heather was saying hi to everyone. So hi, James. Hi, Kristen.
Hey, Kay. Thanks for coming to play.
And Mr. Vlandis, yes, it has been a long while. Welcome.
Hey.
So let us know in the comments down below if you participated in Nano, how your Nano went, and a little bit about what you worked on. And if you didn't, then just what you've been working on this past month.
And if you won or if you didn't win, because even if you didn't win, we want to know that. We want to support you. Like, we're so proud of you for trying, you know, like it's crazy. You don't have to do 100K. You can do 50K and be great. You can do 10K and be great. So let us know that too. We want to know even if you didn't win, because there's years where we all are not going to win, you know?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this was my, this was not my first nano. I think the first year I tried it was 2016. And I've only won twice, you know, each of the years since then. And this year I didn't win, but I actually did win because my project was Project Bark. So my writing project was Project Bark, sort of the kind of project title for my middle grade contemporary novel. And I was estimating it to probably be around 40K to finish it, but I didn't really know. And I finished it at 38,740 words. And so I consider that a win, because I was like, I'm not going to write more than the novel itself. So I guess that's the joys of a middle grade contemporary, but I know it'll definitely be more than that in the editing, once I get to the editing phase. But I really enjoyed it, and I know we'll get into all of the details and everything like that. So I will let Holly go.
Yay! I've only read. I haven't gotten to the midpoint yet, so we gotta read each other our chapters, so I can find out what happened. So Mr. Vlandis said it didn't work out, too much life stuff. Yes, I totally get that.
2020, it's a pandemic. Like, yeah, that's what happens.
Woo, that's awesome. Bravo. Yay.
Thank you.
And then if you guys don't know, I was working on a YA fantasy, Project Diamond, which I also won Nano and also completed the first draft. much less than I also thought it was going to be. I was estimating at first that I would complete it at 70K, because usually my YA fantasies are between 70 and 80K. So I was estimating 70K. I got to the midpoint at 35, like a little bit less than 35K, maybe like 32K. So I'm like, sweet, I could probably finish this like at like less than 65K. Well, I finished it at like 50. What did I hit? 58, like 0.5, almost. Or no, 55. It was actually like almost 55K. So I was like, I did not like get anywhere close to that. But we will also talk about that a little bit. Yeah. So
yay, congrats. It's so good too. I've read up to like almost up to the midpoint, but then we kind of like took off with writing and we're like, we need to write more than read it. So
right. So who wants to start with kind of going with like the first thing, I don't know, I guess talking about their experience, something they learned, something that changed that they didn't expect, anything you want to talk about?
I mean, I can go with that if you guys want some time. So I had some big unexpected.
Oh wait, sorry, by the way, this is the one pantser of the group here. And the others.
Right. So, but also double nanoed. So come play with me.
Sorry.
Yes, no, that's good. That's important to chat about because I'm sure it'll come up again. So I had some really unexpected things happen. I was okay, and I'm grateful and healthy and everything, but I ended up and being in quarantine for the last 2 weeks of November. And that was very unexpected. And I thought I was going to be, I thought that quarantine time was going to be free time, basically. And because I thought things with work were going to be a little different than they ended up being because of the quarantine. They were supposed to go and do a kind of Thanksgiving thing with their family. And it just, oh man, it was hard. That first like 24 hours after finding out was really hard on me. I think I cried like 4 or 5 times because I was just like so excited. I was like, that's it. Like, this is going my way. 2020 has sucked, but like this is my moment, right? And like I wasn't sure if I was going to make it at that point. I don't think I was even quite at 50K yet. I was getting really close, but my whole goal throughout the month was not focusing on the 50K because I was like, oh, I'll probably hit that. Like, but I'm going to have like literally, I thought I was going to have 10 days at the end of the month. That was going to be free time. And I ended up getting 4, which were like my Thanksgiving break kind of, you know, that's free time. And like the weekends, I guess, count. So, but you know, like to go from 10 days down to less than half of that was just so disheartening, really. And I, like I said, didn't even know, like I wasn't even at 50K yet. I know Savannah was. I know a couple of our other friends had already hit that 50K. And my goal was never to hit the 50K. I was like, I don't care. I don't care when they hit because I'm going to have 10 days worth of free time. And I'm just going to be able to do what I want to do. And I'm going to be able to write. And I'm going to hit 100K at the end of this month. So I just like had to kind of like roll with that punch a lot. And I think what helped was like just telling, you know, Savannah and some of our other friends, like, I just want to give up. Like why? Like what's, you know, and like crying through it. Like, I mean, I was definitely crying through it, and I was trying not to cry at work because their plans were ruined too, you know, like I didn't want to be rude and, you know, like, so I was like trying to like kind of keep that back a little bit. So just like having to readjust mid-month, which I know happens a lot, you know, like we kind of start losing steam, but like I was so excited and I was so ready and like things were going great. And then it just felt like this rock was dropped in the middle of my month, kind of. And I was like, okay, so I'm either going to have to be smushed by the rock or I'm going to have to be the river. And I'm going to have to go around the rock. So obviously I chose to be the river. But you know, it was a lot of that. Like, and I think that unexpected part, I think some of our audience was saying, you know, there were some unexpected things. And, you know, I know some of our viewers, like some of their unexpected things that came up, and it was just made me feel a lot more proud of myself at the end, I think, for like sticking with it and, you know, just like not giving up, even though there were a couple times where I really wanted to, you know, like I would have probably made it to that 50K, but like I have a good, better, best goal, and 50K was not a good goal for me. It was, you know, like my low end goal was 75K. So I think just like overcoming that and stepping up to the plate and saying like, no, like not this too. Like, I don't care what else happened. Not this too. So that was my like, and I'm really proud of myself. Like, I worked really hard for all of those words, and I've got a lot of really great things that I can launch myself into with next year, and I'm happy. And, you know, but like at the same time, I think it would have been okay if I had decided to give up. That would have been a totally different battle for me, because that's not something I do well. Like, I can quit things that aren't good for me fairly easy, but I don't quit things in general that I love. And I love Nano, and I wanted to do this. So that was my big, like, yes, I double nanoed, but I think I'm more proud of the fact that I didn't let the changed expectation like rule the month for me.
Yeah, you're so strong, because some people would have just let that ruin the whole rest of the month. They would have just been like, well, I'm not going to be able to hit it now, and then just not even tried. So you're Wonder Woman. Woo! Kristen said, you did work hard, Leash. Proud of you too.
Thank you.
And Kristen also won Nano, finished the draft too at 85,697 words. Yay!
I was just saying, I think that was about, what time did you win last night, KK? I think it was like 11 o'clock. She texted me and said, like, she was done. So, and KK worked really hard too. She was thinking she wasn't going to be done like 3 days left in the month. So, like, she had already hit her 50, but hitting her personal goal of finishing the draft. So,
right. It's not over till it's over.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right, planners, what do you guys got?
Do you want to go next?
Am I going?
Yeah, you want to go next?
Sure, yeah. So I was fortunate in not ending up having too much like unexpected things happen. But I think it was just a new experience with like the level of outlining that I did. Like, I've never outlined anything as long as 5 books before, but at the same time, I also did more discovery writing, I feel like, than I've ever done. I know that you can't actually do more plotting and more discovery writing than ever before at the same time. So I don't know which one is actually accurate, but I think that the discovery writing that I did fits better because I had outlined well enough that when a new idea came up and like this other identity for this person that I had not planned came into my mind and some other things, like I knew that they would fit with the rest of the story, and I knew like I knew the rest of the story well enough that I could decide whether this great idea I just had was worth changing anything, if I would need to change anything, or whether it would fit perfectly enough that I could just leave, I could just do whatever I wanted with it and everything else would still be fine and not need to be changed. And so I feel like it's just, both of them are just so beneficial, to me at least. I feel like this Nano, I was evenly like, well, like highly outlined, but also like so many great ideas just came to me along the way. And like the whole, yeah, I see you over there. But a whole nother big part of the story with the magic system that has just become hugely important that I did not plan at all is basically like the beginning of how potions started being made, which was not at all anything to do with the story originally, but there were some things where I was like, oh, figure this out and figure that out, and like as I was writing, it just worked to solve all of my problems and become like a really cool magic system. And what I mean by that is, like, you know, in Harry Potter when they're like, you know, stir the potion 3 times clockwise and 7 times counterclockwise and use the left wing of the whatever beetle, or like all these real specific things. Can you imagine how much experimentation somebody, if that were real, how much experimentation somebody would have had to do to figure out exactly which ways to turn things. Like, there's got to be some kind of pattern somewhere in all that people could discover so that it was easier to come up with potions. So that just like took off. All kinds of great ideas came from that. And the character who is the most involved with that basically barely existed in the first beginning of, most of the way through the first book. And then I needed him and he came up all of a sudden, and now he's like one of the most important people. So like that was something I did not plan. But and I just, because I had outlined pretty significantly, I had a 25,000 word outline for 5 books altogether. And so that was pretty significant outlining, but I think that because I knew the story well enough, I was able to just know what ideas I had would fit with the rest of the story versus what ideas would make me have to change the rest of the story in ways I didn't want to. So I don't know what my point is with that. Just like,
I think it's good. Great. Like, it's showing that like, your outlining really helped you and build that foundation, but then also like you can come up with things along the way. You can deviate from your outline. That's okay. It's not going to mean that you're going to hit stumbling blocks, and it might actually help push you forward. So like, don't be afraid to like, oh, well, I wrote, 22,000 word outline. Like, shouldn't I stick to this? But like, you trusted your gut and like you flowed with it, and like it still worked out. So
yeah. And just the amazing thing to me is that because I had outlined so extensively, I knew what discovery writing would work that would enable me to keep the rest of the outline, versus like before, when I've had less of an outline and I've had ideas along the way, I've gone and I've pursued them. And then 10,000 words later, I had to change a huge thing that I had in my mind that was going to happen later because I hadn't really outlined or thought it through. So like, it's just helped me to be so much more organized with it, and for it all to work out, in spite of it being like random surprises, like it all works out and fits together.
I love that. Yes.
Hey.
That's what Kristen says. The best of both worlds.
Yes.
Vlandis says, the unexpected, the sudden loss of desire to write or create, still working through what was said to me. It's been sort of a depression, but that has not stopped me from planning new ideas. I'm so sorry. But it's hard because like your life can already make you like not want to write, and then like with everything that's just happening too is just makes it worse. But like you'll find that spark, but you have to give it time, because that's like what happened to me when I had to shelve the Celestial Code after querying it and for a year, and that was like really hard, and I didn't want to write anything else. And like I stopped querying it in February, and it wasn't until I came up with the idea for Project Diamond in July that I'm like, oh, I know what I'm going to write for Nano. And that got me out of my rut. I had no idea it was going to. So I know like you may feel like, oh, things might not stay the same, or things might stay the same, things might not change, but like you never know. And you have to keep up that positive attitude, because that's how people keep going, and that's how people win Nano too. It's just, they just keep going. So
yeah, because how do you beat somebody that won't quit? You can't. You can't beat somebody that won't quit. Eventually, right? Like eventually somebody's gonna win. Like you're gonna cross that finish line at some point. Because you can't beat somebody that won't quit.
It's loud. Just realized.
And can I say something to Mr. Blandis too? Like, I don't know what somebody said to you, but if people are discouraging you and stuff that you do in your life, you can always consider involving those people in life less. I don't know who that person is, so I don't know how hard that could be, but I just think there's so many people in the world that whose creative genius we haven't seen because they let people, because people discourage them, and they, instead of fighting it and trying to be creative and do the stuff they want to do anyway, they believed that discouragement and then never pursued it. And I don't want that to happen to you. So like whatever it is that you want to do, no matter what somebody is saying to you, just keep doing it. And even maybe you need to take a break from it and come back to it, but don't give up just because somebody is being rude. And it might be that sometimes people say rude stuff because they're jealous of you, or because they don't understand what it is that you're doing. But just don't give up just because of what this person said. And also, all of us have had people say rude stuff to us, and everybody who is a household name famous author has also had a lot of rude things said to them too that have been discouraging. So even though you don't see that on the Instagram highlight reel, like, you are not alone. We all have to deal with that. That is a rite of passage of being a writer. So just don't give up.
And it was one person. It was one person on one day, you know, one person, one day, one instance, hopefully, right? That, like, you know, like, that's not representative of the entire world. And those people aren't your people. Like, you're not writing for those people who hate the book. You're not writing for those people who don't get it. You're writing because there's something inside you that says this story needs to be told and I'm the one that needs to tell it.
Right.
And those people that you're writing for, they're going to love it. So let me echo that. Don't give up. Please don't give up.
Aw, love that. Yeah, let's all just do the heart.
About not giving up. Heather, do you want to go next?
Yeah, so unexpected things. I mean, this was not unexpected, but I ended up getting a new puppy on December 8th. So
November
8th. Sorry, November 8th.
She's time traveled too, you guys.
In the future, I got a new puppy and then it went back in time. No. Thank you, Alicia. As you can tell, I am tired, but no. So so for majority of NaNoWriMo, I, have been obviously busier than I would be without a new puppy. So I was trying to have that balance. And since I was trying to prepare ahead of time, like, this is when I'm going to write. And but I think I was still a little bit unprepared for, how much time I wanted to spend and do training and things like that, and exercising the puppy and everything like that. So trying to find that balance was one of the things I worked through, but I actually didn't find it as much of a struggle. It was just something that I was, like, aware of and managing. The thing that actually slowed me down with my writing was not the puppy. It was actually me jumping ahead in my writing, which is a really bad habit that I've done in the past. And one of the things that I try to do to prevent that is by having a solid outline so that I know, okay, I can't get stuck with something because I know what's happening right now, versus, oh, I didn't really plot out these scenes well enough, so I know what's going to happen here, so I'm just going to jump ahead and write that. And that is not a bad problem in and of itself. I was allowing myself to do that within a chapter in the beginning, but then I was jumping way too ahead, and then I kind of got caught in the trap when I got to points where I hadn't plotted it out to enough detail where, I could just sort of, like, let the words flow. So that slowed me down because I kept having to jump back and forth and rearrange things and then reread what I wrote and then change this. Oh, I already kind of wrote that conversation in a different way. And that was, so kind of filling in the gaps then after that slowed me down. But my number one goal, I think, that helped me was, or actually there were two things that helped me. One was to pretend that I was writing 50K. So my goal was to do 1667 a day, so that even if I didn't do that, I really just needed to write 1333 a day. And then the second one was as even if it was just one word, to write something, write said. And so I did have actually like 3 or 4 days where I had like less than 5 words. But then because I was consistent and didn't give up, I was able to meet my goal. So I was still really proud of myself, and I will have to do quite a bit of editing, but that's, hey, the first draft is done. So
it's there. It can be edited. You can't edit a blank page.
What does Alicia say? It's future Heather's problem.
Future Heather's
problem. Editing Heather's problem. Not now's problem. Don't know.
Heather knows all about this because she did the time traveling, so she knows the future.
Right.
See, I just got it as inspiration because Project Bark puppy.
Yes,
Yes,
exactly. Hi JC. Yes, we're well. We hope you're well too. Good to see you here too. Okay, so I guess gosh, I have a lot of things. Okay, what do I want to say? Okay, so that I was the most in depth with this outline than I ever have because I started doing scene cards, which I had never done before. I had never seen before. I had to find it on AuthorTube to figure out what they were. And it was pretty much a way to break down like what is happening in each scene, why is it important, what's it going to lead to, and like what are the plots and subplots that are involved, the characters. And I really liked that because it gave me that confidence to just like fully go through, like write the scene out. Cause I'm like, I know exactly what's going to happen. And I know that the scene is important and why it's important and what it's leading to next. My problem was that I only had enough time to do. Sorry, Chris is making chicken nuggets or something. So there's aluminum foil crinkling. He's like going really slowly, like.
it's like a Band-Aid, Chris. Rip it off.
Alicia said it's like a Band-Aid. Rip it off. So anyways, my husband's making dinner.
See? One and done. It was fine.
Okay, so anyway, sorry. Of course it's when I'm talking. I could have muted myself before. Love you. Okay. I learned to adapt to different situations. And so I only developed scene cards up through the first act. So once I got through that, I'm like, oh no, like I only did the scene cards for the first act. And like, am I gonna be able to like write the rest of the story? I was really like nervous that I was gonna feel lost. But thankfully I was able to continue on. And I guess because I knew like the outline was strong, and by that time I felt like I really knew the characters really well. But next year I really want to do the scene cards for the whole story, because I feel like near the end I kind of got a little more confused and just unsure of my plot, unsure of the outline, and was thinking of changing something and wasn't exactly sure. I was like, this was going to happen, but I didn't say how, and now I'm not sure how. And that could have been resolved if I like wrote the scene card out. But that did help me a lot. So then the other thing that was, it kind of helped me, but it was just a funny thing that I wanted to mention tonight, was that I've always written in like past tense. Either first person or third person, but I started writing Project Diamond, and like I'm like almost done with the first page, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is present tense. I was like, I didn't mean to write in present tense. I wasn't supposed to write in present tense. I was supposed to write in past tense. I've always written in past tense, but like the story just came to me as present tense. So I was like, well, okay, let's just go with it. And I wrote the whole novel that way, and I feel like it really worked that way. Now there were times here and there where I slipped into past tense, so then I like, made note of that to change for future Holly's problem. But I felt like that was good for me to like see it and realize it, and then just keep going and be like, well, that's not what I planned, but this is how the story started, and I feel like it's flowing that way, and it worked out. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Holly, you should link that video that you watched the scene cards on below.
Yes, I will.
So that anybody who's interested could like see that one too.
Thank you. Yes, it is by Abby Emmons, and I will link it. I will find it.
Find it later. It doesn't. That is a not now Holly's problem. That is a sometime Holly's problem.
It really, really works it works out really well in present tense.
Oh, thank you. So another thing for me, I guess we'll go in the reverse. We'll go back. I don't know. We'll figure out. But the next thing I wanted to talk about though was that my live streams and other people's live streams saved me. Because there were times where I was like, when I didn't have a live stream and I knew there weren't any live streams, I came home and it was like a couple hours before I sat down and wrote. And I was like, what? I just had all these hours that I wasted. Like after work, I was like, oh, I want to relax. I'll go do this. And then like hours passed by and I'm like, what the heck? But the times where I had live streams, I was like, oh, well, now I got all my words already. And, and so those really did save me the accountability. And like next year, I know I'm going to host like just as many, if not more, because they were the golden ticket for me, because it was accountability, motivation, fun, all rolled into one. And like everyone does their live streams differently. So there's different things that you can learn from people. And yeah, that's probably like my number one thing is live streams. All right, who wants to go next? I guess anyone can go.
So like answering like golden ticket, like what was your what kept you on track? I guess I'm unclear of what you want us to answer. Is that just like what was your number one thing?
I guess anything, like anything you learned, anything that you have for advice or about your process, and doesn't have to be like the main thing, but
Is it me?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like it is.
So I know that like not everyone can do this, but I had planned purposefully to take the first week of November off of work, kind of as like my vacation. And I feel that it's I mean, it's not sad for me, but it's like sad because I tell people I'm like, I'm taking vacation and I'm just gonna sit and write. Like, but mentally, if that was really helpful for me to be able to just completely focus on my novel that first week of November. And I think in one of the like nano tips and tricks or things like that, I think I had mentioned that like if you could take a day off here or there, like try not to like overschedule yourself. And that's what I tried to do, but I still gave myself breaks and allowed myself to have fun. So I did do, went out and did some agility practice with the dogs and did all these other things here and there. So just to allow myself, and I don't know if we didn't mention it yet, but like we did create rewards for each milestone. So like 5K, 10K, 15K. And I just realized right now that like, I think I did the 5K reward, which was like going to a bookstore and picking up some stuff, and which I got my copy of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. And so I was like, this is my reward. But then after that, I was like, wait, I didn't actually give myself the other rewards, but I was motivated just by writing and not by those rewards. But that can be helpful if you feel like, oh, I need these other, because if you think about it, reaching the 50K is a reward, but you got to reward yourself each step of the way too. So that was one thing. And then the other thing is to just like let the process happen and write when you can write. I am usually a morning writer. I've always been a morning writer, and I was a night owl. I was writing in the evenings, and like the first few days I was writing in the morning, and then it was like slowly shifting, and then the thing is, I just accepted it. I didn't try to wake up even earlier so I could write. I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna do this at night, and it helped me to not stress out, because I usually stress out thinking I'm only giving myself these last few hours or whatever to get the words in. But it almost motivated me even more, because I'm like, all right, well, I only have this much time, so let me do it. And so that can help and hurt, but I feel like it actually helped me.
Yeah, we were twinning in that respect because I'm always a morning person too. And like, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do 5 a.m. Writers Club this time. I've been wanting to vlog like a 5 a.m. Writers Club week for like months. And no, I became like a night writer, just like Heather. So we're like twinning together. But I'm like, what is going on?
No, we lost Alicia.
Oh no. She'll probably come back. Here we go. See, let me
Okay. Okay, my camera is saying that it's not connected, but I'm here as long as it will let me.
Yeah, you made it. Kristen said, I started writing my draft in present tense. I think it was because the last 4 books I'd read were in present tense. Took me a bit to mentally switch back to past tense. Yeah, that's so funny. And live streams were huge for Kristen too. And Zoom video writing calls, woo, with Savannah and Alicia. That's amazing. And you guys, I linked the YouTube video for the scene cards down below, and she had a free downloadable template, so that's what I used. So definitely helpful. And then James said, y'all help me write my essays. I need to write a rough draft on an essay for Kindred by Octavia Butler that I've been brainstorming on the past few days. Nice. I wish I read that to help you, but sorry. All right, Savannah, you want to?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing I learned was how much discovery writing still works with outlining super well. Another thing, something that I've been learning over the past year or so is like kind of like what Heather was saying, was just to be flexible with like, because there's a point where you have to stop doing whatever feels comfortable. You have to push yourself so that you can reach your goals and all that. But then the point comes where you're sick and exhausted and you hate everything because you're so tired because you pushed yourself so much. So I've passed that stage, I think, for the most part. But there were several days where I got up at 5, but I've been doing for the past year and a half, like there were several days where I didn't get up at 5. I was too tired. My alarm would go off and I'd be like, nope, I need 1 more hour. Nope, I'm not going to write before work today. Can't do it. It's fine. And there were some days where I went to bed later and I was like, I'm not going to make myself get up at 5. And I would go ahead and set my alarm for later. But for the days where I did get up at 5 and I felt pretty good, like I did get some words in and it was great. But the days that I didn't stress about it. I was just like, I'm doing the best I can. I'm going to try to be kind to my body, as Kristen says, and, take care of myself and not run myself ragged, because that doesn't do any good. So taking care of myself. I also rediscovered my love of chocolate covered coffee beans. Oh. They're delightful. And as much as I love coffee, I've been loving tea more than coffee. But if you have some like a handful of chocolate covered coffee beans, you don't even need a handful. Don't overdo it, because they're very caffeine-y. Yeah, you just need a few. Yeah, you really just need a few of them, and they are so delicious. And I would sometimes do like mini motivations where I'd be like, all right, 500-word mark, I get a coffee bean, and seriously, and it helps. And another thing that I did for rewarding myself was I had noticed that I had been stopping at the Starbucks on the way to work way too often. It was unhealthy and expensive, the amount of times I was going to Starbucks to not only get coffee, but also breakfast. So I was like, I love this, but I'm going to just take a break from this and just reward myself at 25, 50, 75, and 100. So whenever I hit those marks, I can have coffee. Like it's one, like a token for one Starbucks trip for coffee and breakfast. And that limited me, I still went about once a week with the rate that I was writing, but it limited me from the ridiculous frequency that I was doing before. So that was good. And I got my the dip nails done at the beginning of November, because I was like, I'm going to be staring at my hands so much. I want to have nice nails. And I got they had grown out. And so I got them redone as my, I don't even remember, 50K reward maybe, in addition to the Starbucks. But they're so pretty. I love them. And I stare at my hands all day. And I was like, I'm just going to treat myself to this and have nice nails, because my fingernails are just really weak. And some people just have really beautiful hands and beautiful nails, and I don't. So I was like, I'm going to have beautiful nails while I'm writing this year. So that was another thing.
I love that. That's great, like motivation. And
Yeah.
um, are these chocolate covered coffee beans available everywhere? Because I need this in my life.
Yes. They're at Kroger. They're all different places, but Kroger normally has at least the Krogers in Indiana normally have them for $6 for this like container of them. And right now they're all on sale for $3. So go to Kroger. I'm not trying to push Kroger brand or anything, but I know that Kroger has really good ones. They're dark chocolate covered coffee beans. They're in a little plastic container. I don't have it in here, but because I would eat them all while I was sitting down if I did, but it's like $3 for this container, and it's in the trail mix section. So they're delightful.
You could probably make them too. I would imagine it can't be that difficult.
I've tried that, and it didn't go very well. But you're welcome to try it because you probably would be more creative.
I'm sure there's a recipe online somewhere if you want to try.
Probably.
Just wing it, but
sprinkling chocolate chips over coffee beans and then putting them in the oven does not work. So.
No. I would think it was a baker's chocolate that would be needed. So
solid effort.
Solid effort. Now you know. Now everybody else knows. Don't do it that way.
That's not good.
It's funny. So I feel like my kind of big takeaway this year was just that I felt like a veteran nano writer. And I mean, I am at this point, this was my fourth one. And I was, but like, it just felt so much different because that first year I remember feeling just like crazy and like, oh my God, can I do this? 50,000 words, that's so many words. Like, am I going to be able to make it? Like all of that. Right. And then I've like kept going. Now I have a pretty big personal goal that Nano was helping to play into. And I think that played into it a lot too, because it was just like, okay, this is just part of it. This is part of my big goal. It's going to play into it. It's going to be fine. Like I had planned it at the beginning of the year. So I don't plan like my stories, but like I have like my yearly goal and my monthly goals and, my weekly goals and all that. So I think just like that feeling of like being settled into like, okay, this is November. This is what I do. And like, sorry if I'm not talking to anybody, but like, this is what I'm doing. And like, I'm highly extroverted. So I think, yeah, like having, any sort of live write-ins, like with Zooms and stuff like this was really helpful to me because one of my favorite parts of the year of like our Nano is our community. Like Indianapolis has a great Nano community. We love our community. Like our MLs are great. We love them. And like Nano changed my life. And I love getting to see these people and catch up with them. And so like, our MLs worked a lot on Discord to like make it feel, more like our community normally. And, yeah, just like my like weekly writing group that Savannah and I are in together, we had pretty regular like Zoom writing calls. Like anybody could be like, hey, like I'm writing tonight. Is anybody around? And, most of the time, like our group would kind of jump on. So that was really fun to see everybody and just like having that support. Which I mean, I've always had, I've like, since I've been part of this community, the Nano community in general, and then NINDY, that's what we call the Nano Indie, NINDY community, of course, has been amazingly supportive. And I'm so grateful for that. But I think just like figuring out how to kind of roll with the punches of the pandemic and not being able to see everybody. And I mean, there was a point where we were even kind of some of us meeting semi-regularly, like once a week during the pandemic Nano stuff, like at the beginning of the month. But then that had to change too, so it was like, oh, we're back to the Zoom. And like, even through that, I just was like, I'm a veteran Nano writer now. And it's cool to remember so distinctly when I was such a noob and green and wasn't sure I can do it. And like looking back and being like, thank you to my newbie self, like, thank you for making me who I am. Like, thank you for sticking with it long enough to get us here to this point because it's so fun. And then it's so fun to like be encouraging of the newbie writers now too. Cause it's like, oh yeah, like this isn't my first year anymore, and it kind of is just like become such an important part of my life. Like I've done camps and, like the Nano camps and all of that now too. So I think just like it really, it doesn't matter that we're in a pandemic. I mean, like, don't take that like I'm being facetious. Like, I of course want everyone safe and healthy, and I want a vaccine as quickly as we can get one. But it doesn't change the sense of community that comes with our writing groups, I feel like, and with Nano in general. And I think that's a really unique thing that Nano has kind of fostered among all of the writers, you know, because it's like, we're all in this together, even though we're totally not. We're all individual doing this, but it's cool. And it doesn't matter if, like we said, if you hit 38K and finished your draft, if you hit 100K, you know, and Rebel, it doesn't matter what your step is there. It's just to dedicate yourself for 30 days to doing it is really cool. So yeah. I think that's what I'm most grateful for, and like kind of like just good to have that reiterated. Not that it was something that I learned, because, you know, like it was very clear to me from the get-go that that's how this community is. And I'm so grateful for that. And I'm so grateful to be a part of that and to help make that like that for other people. But I think just like that reminder that like, even though COVID is trying to take so much of our togetherness from us, and as we're coming into the holiday season, you know, I didn't get to spend Thanksgiving with my family because of numbers, which was kind of a hard hit. And that was like after I found out I wasn't going to get to have my days off there. So, but like, it's good. It was just so nice to have that feeling of togetherness, even being pretty isolated. And even like, I mean, I was in quarantine for the second half of the month, literally, like from like the 17th or something to the end of the month. So,
wow.
Yeah. So I think that was my big takeaway. It's just this community is incredible, and stick with it as long as you can.
Feeling all the feels here, Alicia.
Alicia always brings up the feels. I'm glad that you're a part of the community, Alicia, and you're so important to us. And yeah, we're grateful for you. So, I think the like last thing that I did want to add into that really helped me, which was also part of the whole like flexibility thing and, you know, changing things if you need to, is that like I had at least like, I think I had like 2 videos that I was going to film and edit and upload to my YouTube channel, and then 2 of them were going to be live streams. Well, I just did live streams all month, because I was like, if I have time, I don't want to spend the time like filming and editing and doing all that. That takes a long time and I don't want to rush it. I'm like, let me do a write-in or something instead, or like a live write-in, or let me just write. And so that was the big thing that like I found that helped me, because I've seen people that they come out with like a couple videos a week and then they're like, yeah, I failed Nano. And I'm like, I wonder why. You know, just saying. Not everyone. There are people who vlogged every day and won. Kahila Harris, Haley Haggerty, Queen rock stars. So, right. But yeah.
Like, there's probably some correlation there is what you're getting at.
Yes. But anyway, so being flexible with that and knowing like that's okay, because I was like, oh my gosh, like my numbers, like YouTube, you know, it's like, it's fine, like you're a writer, that's what's more important. Like, okay, your author platform is second, you know, like, because you're not like, if you're not an author, you don't have an author platform, Holly. But anyways, I think too, yeah, just the community, I think that was probably like, that's like the word of the year, community.
Yay.
So any last minute things anyone wants to say to wrap up? And I'm proud of everyone for everything that they did this month. So
me too.
Yeah. I have one thing. I just really want to encourage everybody to be really proud of yourself, no matter how much you wrote in Nano, because like Alicia said earlier, you can't edit a blank page. But no matter how messy of a draft you have, it is editable. So it is, you have passed a stage and are in better shape for having written whatever you wrote. So whatever you wrote is great. And also, I just really encourage people not to compare yourselves to anybody else, but to compare yourself to your past self and to make a point of making yourself better. And you can look up to other people and want to be like them, and that's fine, but don't compare yourself to other people and think that you didn't do good enough or that you could never be as good as somebody else because your word count is less than theirs. Because you know, some people might have been writing longer than you. They could have a different life circumstance that gives them more time than you. Who knows what it could be, but whatever it is, it does not at all mean that you are less than them or that you couldn't be capable of as great of things as them or anything like that. It's so important to compare yourself to your past self and not to anybody else. And like, I almost lost some friendships earlier in my author career because I was so bitterly jealous of some people that I was like, I've been on Instagram as long as you, and you have 5,000 more followers than me, you know? And so there was one particular memory I had that was very strong, that I had made a goal that I was going to write and finish a book in 1 year. And then somebody came out with a video about these 4 books they were going to write in 1 year. And I was like, well, why should I even try? You know? And I got really mad about it for a minute to myself. But then I realized that if I was going to keep having that attitude, I would never have a chance of being a friend with that person, because they would be, you know, my sworn enemy in my head, you know? So I got over that, and I've actually made some really great friends of people that I used to be like, you know, unhealthily jealous of. So I am so glad that I got over that, and that I am just able to enjoy being friends with those people. And I would just really encourage you to do the same thing. And I have grown so much. Like, I double nanoed this year, not because I compared myself to anybody else who's ever double nanoed, but because I was like, you know, I finished nano early last year so I could take my public speaking course that I wanted to take. I could stretch myself and try to do more. So I was comparing myself to my past self and not to anybody else. And that's the way that I was able to do that. So I think that is just massively, massively important. And I would just encourage everybody to do that.
Golden nuggets of wisdom.
Let's say, yeah, like, I don't know what I don't know how I'm going to compare myself to next year's. Cause like, you know, shoot, like, what am I going to do? Am I going to have to double nano again?
Like, next year you're going to be like, well,
I don't know.
I was in quarantine and double nanos.
And it
so
doesn't mean that you always have to beat your previous goal, because your life circumstances could be different. Like you know, you might not have kids this year and you could have a kid next year, or you might be moving in the middle of the year, or when I lost nano a couple years ago, I had just started a new job and it took a lot out of me. It was, you know, tiring to adjust to it, and it was sad to leave my old job, and it was all in the middle of it. And so I tried real hard, but the last day of nano, I worked a 13-hour day. And so I was behind by 7K. And if I had started earlier in the day, maybe, but like I booked it through a few thousand, and then I had 4K left at midnight. And it's like, there's nothing I can do about that. So there's just circumstances sometimes that are out of your control. But as much as you can, be like Alicia and beast through it, even when everything seems like it's against you.
Be the river, not the puddle.
Yeah.
Be the river, not the puddle. I was just gonna say, one of my writing friends told me this, and it really got me through that last 50K, like that second 50K. Because I was like, I don't want to do this. I'm over it. Like it was that, like, one of those, like, I want to quit points. And she said, like, and Savannah will back this up and reminds us of this pretty regularly too, but like, do it because it's fun. Don't do it if it's not fun. If you're not having fun, switch projects in the middle. You can become a rebel in the middle of nano just as easily. Like, you don't have to, like, you can start as it's a traditionalist, right? Like, I don't know, I've never been one, but like, in any aspect of my life, realistically. But I mean, you could start as a rebel and then be like, wait, no, like, I'm gonna finish it as a traditionalist. I'm gonna finish it as, you know, like, you can flop in the middle, and like, there's no rules about it. But I think the one that we should have is like, have fun. Just have fun with it. And like, I ended up with some like projects that I was not obviously not expecting, because I don't ever expect them, but like Panther, like I ended up with some like really fun projects that I want to explore, and I can't wait to like see where they take me and like what they're going to be. And like, just that reminder sometimes, you know, is like find those people that are going to say like, okay, like, I guess you can quit, but like, if you can find something that you're doing within this that's still fun, maybe try that instead. And like that's a big motivator for me too. Like fun and like making me angry like at myself are like really good. And I also kind of imagine saying to my brothers, so like my 2 younger brothers who are like 2 of my favorite people in the whole world, I imagine saying to them like, hey, I quit this school. And not, hey, I quit this school because it's bad for me. But hey, I quit this because it got tough. And that just about made me want to vomit in my seat. Like, imagine having to tell them that, because like, that's not who we are. And like, I just can imagine watching their faces drop as I told them that, because it would mean I wasn't being true to myself. It would mean I wasn't being true to our family values. It would mean, you know, like, and like these boys are like, they might not admit it, but like, they kind of think I hung the stars, and I kind of like letting them think I hung the stars. Like, I'm their older sister. I'm their only older sister. And like, we're on completely different paths. One of my brothers is a mechanic, you know, so not really a writer, but like, you know, like just supports me so fully. And one of my other brothers is out in Wyoming and works as like a shooting range like manager, and like he works and that kind of stuff. And it's just really cool to like know how supportive they are of me. And like just me imagine saying to them like, I quit because I wasn't tough enough, was not something that I was gonna let happen. So like, I mean, like, at least I could say I tried. That there's a difference between quitting because it's not good for you, right? And quitting because you don't want to try. And if it had been not good for me, if I had kept doing it and it wasn't fun, that's totally different. They would have been like, Leash, why are you doing it? Like, don't do it. It's not good for you. Go away. Like, get away from that. But like, if it's still fun, if you can find some fun somewhere, you're tougher than it. You're tougher than whatever it is. If we're tougher than COVID, we're tougher than anything, you guys. Like, all of us.
Yeah.
I love that. Yes, be strong.
Love it.
Tie a knot when you're at the end of your rope. Hang on. That's my thing. Like, all right, I better tie another knot. I'm slipping down a little bit farther. Better tie another knot, because I can hang on. I can hang on just a little bit longer. I might not be able to start climbing again for a little bit, but I'm not letting go of that damn rope.
Okay.
You tell him, Alicia.
Heather, do you have any last parting words? Oh, except for JC first.
Oh, yes.
You'll never fail as long as you are trying.
Yes, we love that. Fail faster.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I can add anything entirely new to what you all have already said, but I think I want to just re-emphasize the community part is so important. And even if it's just one person who knows that you're writing and that you can give updates to, that can really help drive and motivate you. And we are all here for you. And love writing with you, and love trying to decide which cats are going to win the race. And
we're always mad when ours doesn't win.
So, no, I just want to say, like, Alicia, actually, I didn't even think about it, but like, I did have fun. Like, I mean, I did think about it a little bit, but it's like, while you're writing, sometimes you don't realize, you're like, oh yeah, I am having fun. And I don't think I realized it until I was reading my chapters out loud to Holly in my characters' voices. And I just really got into the voice of some of these characters, and it made it fun, and it made me more motivated to like write more. So that always comes through. The trick. If you've got a really fun character, like, read the last chapter that you wrote out loud, and then you're gonna be like, I want to write more. That was so cool.
Yeah, that always comes through on the page. You know, when the author is having fun and like genuinely invested in their story, like, think of all those good stories that you love. Like, yeah, it's hard work to get there, but like at some point the whole goal of being a reader is to get lost in this, like, and not even realize that you're reading because you're having fun following along on the journey. And that doesn't mean the journey's easy. That doesn't mean that the journey's, you know, like anything other than like you're taking yourself away from the fact that you're reading. So
Right.
I like that, Heather.
Yay. Well, this was very motivational, and like I'm like, man, I just want to like write right now. um, but thank you, girls, for joining me. I always love when you guys show up on my live streams, and like I knew we'd have a great conversation and recap. So thank you again, and thank you everyone for coming and watching. I hope that December is already starting off well for you all, and I will hopefully have a pre-filmed and edited video ready for you on Tuesday. So be on the
Yay.
lookout for an actual edited video. Maybe.
If not, maybe we'll all be back. You never know.
Y'all are gonna get sick of me, so you can exclude me. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I love you all. All right, well, I will let you guys go. Have a great night, and we will see you later.